The other day, I opened my email to a very familiar question. Let me read it to you because I have a feeling that you might have been wondering the same thing at some point. You might even be wondering the same thing right now. Here we go. Hi, Heather. My name is Christine, and I've been listening to your podcast every single day while I'm sitting through traffic, LOL. By the way, Christine, thank you for listening to my podcast every day. That makes me so happy. Okay, back to the question. I want to be an author, and I know I can be a really amazing one, but most authors I know tend to have a degree in creative writing or English of some sort. I have a degree in marketing, and I'm thinking, do you really need a degree in creative writing, English, to become a really good author? All right, Christine, and everybody else who's been wondering this exact same thing, buckle up, because I'm about to give you my honest opinion on this and explain exactly what I think you should be doing instead to get great at writing. Hello, and welcome to the Speculative Fiction Writing Made Simple podcast. I'm your host, Heather Davis. I'm a book coach, developmental editor, founder of the World Shift Writing Summit, and fellow storyteller. And this is the show that's all about how to brainstorm, write, edit, publish, and sell a powerful speculative fiction novel, and maybe just change the world too. So my simple answer to Christine's question is this. No, you absolutely do not need an MFA or related English degree to write a great novel. In fact, sometimes those types of degrees can actually make it harder because MFA programs often teach literary writing skills, which aren't always the same as the skills you need for commercial fiction. Let me explain. Literary fiction doesn't usually concern itself with plot or character arc in the same way that commercial fiction does. Largely, it focuses on language and exploration, which is beautiful and valuable, but that alone doesn't sell commercial fiction. Commercial fiction absolutely emphasizes great line-level writing, yes, but it's also critically important to know how to construct a plot with momentum, how to build scenes that propel readers forward, and how to craft characters who complete a deeply rewarding arc of change. And in fact, many writers I work with already have MFAs and related degrees, yet they have zero idea how to write a novel that really works. But the question is, of course, if you don't get an MFA or related degree, then how do you learn to write? Great question. I would love to tell you. I think you should create your own, frankly better creative writing program. And just like the one you would pay for through a university, it will require investment of both time and money. But that's okay, because that's how hobbies become careers. And hopefully, if you want writing to become a career, then you are willing to invest time and money into it. Okay, let's go over the 3 pillars of creating your own MFA program. Pillar number 1. Consume high-quality content on the craft and business of writing. Let's start with books, because let's face it, no MFA program is complete unless you have a lot of great textbooks. Now, these aren't traditional textbooks. These are textbooks that you will need for your writing craft. These are the best out there. I promise you, they will teach you so much. Number 1, Intuitive Editing by Tiffany Yates Martin. Tiffany Yates Martin is sort of a powerhouse in the writing and editing world, and she really imparted so much of how she goes about writing and editing work into this wonderful book. There's stuff on plot development and character development and all that other great stuff, so absolutely get this book. Number 2 is also Tiffany Yates Martin. She wrote another book. It's called The Intuitive Author, and it's also wonderful, and I think it really pairs very well with her first book. So these are your first 2, what I would call textbooks. Number 3, 7 Drafts by Allison K. Williams. This book is wonderful because it really approaches writing a novel in layers so that you go back through each successive draft and add in components that make the final product incredibly robust. Number 4, Wired for Story by Lisa Cron. Lisa Cron is a wonderful teacher of writing. She taught me everything I know about writing. Honestly, I worked with her for several years where she was really mentoring me on how to become a better writer. And every skill that I have now, I truly credit to her. And this book is absolutely amazing. So it really dives into the neuroscience of why we crave story. And that, of course, will help you build a better story. And she definitely lays out how to do that. Coming in at number 5 is another Lisa Cron book. So if you loved Wired for Story like I did, the natural continuation of that learning is a book called Story Genius. And it will really go through how to plot a novel and make sure that all of the scenes have a beautiful cause and effect trajectory. So I would definitely highly suggest that one as well. So those are the craft books that I recommend. Are there other great craft books? Absolutely. Go out there and find ones that really resonate with you. But those are what I call the non-negotiable craft books. You just have to read those in your personal MFA program. All right. Some of my favorite books on plotting. You're going to see a theme here. They're both by Jessica Brody. I absolutely love her as far as plotting goes. So let's dive into that. She wrote Save the Cat Writes a Novel, which is a wonderful book that goes over the Save the Cat structure, which I personally use in my own writing and in my teaching of writing, because it's a wonderful 3-act structure that sort of gets out of your way. And once you understand it, you can write knowing the shape of story without being completely hung up on it. And it's certainly not paint by numbers. It gives you so much flexibility. It's just there to show you, hey, what does a really good story look like? How is it shaped? What are the big beats in the novel that you'll want to meet so that readers will be satisfied? All right, coming in at number 2, she wrote a sequel to this book, which I love, love, love. It's called Save the Cat Writes a Young Adult Novel by Jessica Brody. Okay, what I love about this one is, yes, it's tailored towards young adult, but honestly, what it does is it just gives a little bit more depth to her original book, Save the Cat. So whether or not you write young adult fiction, I would say definitely get this book because it just expands and deepens some areas which apply to both young adult or adult novels. So those are my favorite plotting books. Next comes my favorite book on creativity and inspiration. There's only one in this category, and it changed my life when I read it. It's called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. This book sort of put into words everything I've ever felt about the creative endeavor of writing. It talks about fear. It talks about inspiration. It talks about so many deep topics in the writing world. No, it's not a craft book. No, it doesn't talk about plotting. It really gets at our creative spirit. And I think it's beautiful. And I reread it at least once every year to remind myself of all the wisdom within it. Finally, for books, my favorite author business books. So the first one is The Business of Being an Author by Jane Friedman. I love Jane Friedman. I'm a huge, huge fan. I'm going to talk about her again in a little while. But this book in particular really changed the way I think about writing. So yes, I have that Elizabeth Gilbert big magic feel to it, that it's like divinely imparted to us and it's beautiful and it's mystical. But then there's Jane Friedman over here really grounding me in the business of being an author. So writing for your love and joy, that's one thing. But then if you want to be an author, this book will really take you through the steps of things that you need to think about. Like, how are you going to make a living being an author? Do you want to self-publish or traditional publish? How do you make money? Things like that. So Jane Friedman is a powerhouse in this realm. She knows everything about the business of being an author. So I would highly suggest you get this book. You will not regret it. Number 2, and there are only 2 on my list, is Newsletter Ninja, How to Become an Author Mailing List Expert by Tammy L. LeBrock. Okay, I absolutely love this book because it helps authors understand that email is so important. In fact, an author who has a robust email list is going to be an author who is successful, because that is how we sell books. That's how we sell everything. So yes, email is important. And once you get that in your head, get this book and it will take you through all of the techniques and things you should think about to actually build that email list and know what to email those people. So I think it's a great book and I think it will help you so much. All right, so let's shift from books. So those are all the books that I think should go in your personal little MFA program, but now we're going to switch to podcasts. I do love podcasts. They're great. I think I've learned so much from them. So my top three are, well, my own. Yeah, I'm going to shamelessly plug my own podcast because I think I give a lot of great information, but you're already here, so I don't really have to sell that point. If you're here, if you're listening, I think you find value in the podcast, and I thank you so, so much for being here. All right, number 2 on my list is The Shit No One Tells You About Writing with Bianca Murray, Cece Lira, and Carly Waters. These 3 women are so knowledgeable about the publishing world, and I think this podcast is especially important to people who want to traditionally publish because they talk a lot about query letters and things like that. So if that is your plan, it is a non-negotiable to go listen to this podcast. They are phenomenal. All right, number 3, Alexa's Book Marketing and Publishing Chat with Alexa Bigwharf. So this podcast is incredible for authors who want to self-publish, who want to hybrid publish, and even those who are wanting traditional publishing. Because the truth is, no matter where we publish, most of the marketing efforts for our novel fall to us. And Alexa is brilliant. She's so knowledgeable about how to market and publish books. And I would highly suggest to anyone who wants to get their writing out there into the world, into readers' hands, that they go listen to this podcast. Okay, let's move to online classes and workshops. First, I'm going to shamelessly plug my own classes and workshops. Every month or so, I offer incredibly in-depth courses on topics writers truly need. If you're listening to this at the time of airing, the next course I'm offering is a scene writing course that will literally change the way you write scenes forever, and it will help you write scenes that always, always, always work, which is something that most writers can't do. And since scenes are the building blocks of novels that work, this class is an essential one, whether you're a beginner or whether you're really, really advanced. I know you will take something away from this class. Next on my list is Jane Friedman's website, where you can find lots of free and paid monthly classes, plus an incredible blog filled with expert contributors. Just go to Jane's website and you can find classes there on so many different topics led by industry experts, folks who have been in the business a really long time and they know their stuff. I highly recommend Jane's classes, and I take them all the time myself because I'm constantly, increasing my knowledge and learning from experts. So I highly recommend the classes because I take them all the time myself. And I think even at my level, they are incredibly helpful. They always teach me something. They always offer me a new way of thinking about something. All right, number 3, Tiffany Yates Martin. I love her. I already told you that. And she offers what we call working writers courses. They are low ticket, but they deep dive into important topics like prologues, plot reveals, backstory, etc., etc. So you can find different courses, and she's always adding to her list. And she's a wonderful teacher, so I highly suggest you check those out. And you can pick and choose a la carte, right? What you would like to learn about. Number 4. Jessica Brody's Writing Mastery Academy. This is a membership program. I can't remember how much it costs each month. It's like $15, $30. I'm not sure. Something in that realm, I think. And she offers a lot of courses and a community for writers who love Save the Cat. So if you loved the Save the Cat books and you want to go deeper and you want courses on Save the Cat plus other great courses, definitely go and become a part of Jessica Brody's community. It's great. Number 5, Cece Lira from The Shit No One Tells You About Writing offers excellent deep dive classes on topics like interiority, the emotional craft of writing, and other great topics. She's a wonderful teacher, so I highly suggest taking any classes that you can from Cece. You'll learn so much every single time I go to her class. She still blows my mind, even now, every single time. And sometimes I end up taking the same class multiple years in a row. She's great. I love her. Number 6, Carly Waters from The Shit No One Tells You About Writing also offers a beautiful course for writers. It's called the Author's Publishing Playbook, which deep dives into what writers pursuing traditional publication need to understand about the business side of writing. Like, what does genre really mean? What are age categories? And so many other things. This is a wonderful course that will teach you just really everything you need to know about the publishing side of things. Number 7, Lauren Kay is a writer and teacher who really focuses on how to help writers query successfully. She offers a course called Query Bootcamp. She offers it, I think, a couple times a year. Anyway, it's a deep dive into all things query related, and it will really help you up your game when it comes time to send your book out to agents if you want to pursue traditional publishing. It doesn't really matter for you so much if you're not pursuing traditional publishing, but if you are, it can be a game changer. All right, number 8. This is the last one. It's Alexa Bigwharf. So if you go to her website, you will find wonderful resources for authors who plan to self-publish. And I particularly love her membership program called Whip School. This membership program offers a community and courses and all sorts of wonderful things, and it really will help any author who wants to self-publish up their game, know exactly what to do, how to promote your work, how to position your work, all of that other great stuff. One thing I've noticed is it really will help any author at all, even if you plan to traditionally publish. So I would highly suggest anyone just go check it out and see if it's something that might be useful to you. Wow, that was a big pillar. Let's move on to the next one. Remember, we are building your own personal DIY MFA learning resource vault here. So obviously these are things that you can't consume all at one time. These are things that you will have to pick and choose and decide when and how to deep dive into each one, but they're also useful. Pillar number 2, study well-written novels. This one is simple, but it's also the one that I see writers get wrong the most. Writing an engaging novel is like a brilliant card trick, guys. It's a card trick. To the casual observer, it can look and feel like pure magic, but it's not magic, it's craft, and craft can be learned. You just have to pay attention. So here's what I suggest. Find recently published books in your genre, and maybe some outside of your genre, because let's not silo ourselves, right? And then study them intentionally instead of just reading them for fun. So the funny thing about books that we love, and this still happens to me all the time, of course it happens, is that the minute I start reading a book that I love, it sort of anesthetizes my brain and it puts me in the story world, and I forget to pay attention to how the card trick works, right? I forget to pay attention to how the author is doing what they do so well. And then I have to stop and I have to go back and I have to get real intentional. And I have to think about, how are they passing time in the novel? How are they inserting backstory? How are they crafting dialogue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What I'll do is I'll highlight passages related to whatever I'm studying. And that's what I suggest you do as well. You can get the physical copy of the book and highlight it that way. Or you can get like the Kindle version and you can highlight it that way. Sometimes Kindle's a lot easier for this because you can search keywords, you can highlight things in certain colors, and it's really easy to reference your highlighting. But either way will work. Sometimes I will also just put little Post-it notes inside with the physical books that I have. So if you ever come to a class that I run, behind me on my bookshelf, you'll see all these wonderful books, and then you'll see like these little sticks of paper coming up out of them. And that's where I've sticky noted them all. There's like dozens and dozens of sticky notes in all of these books because I'm studying them, because I'm trying to figure out how they do what they do so I can write better and so I can help the writers I work with write better. And when you do this, what you'll notice is that any single thing that you want to learn about writing, you can learn from the books you're reading. Meaning, let's imagine that I want to learn about, again, like I said a minute ago, backstory. Then I'm going to go through all the books that I love, and I'm going to start looking for how and when and why they are inserting backstory into scenes. And once I study it, I can create a paradigm for how it works. And then I can apply that to my own writing. And it's not just backstory, right? It's anything you want to learn. Like, let's imagine you're trying to think, well, how do I open my novel? How do I write the first line of my novel? Go through the books that you love in your genre, especially ones that are being published in the last 2 to 3 years. Look at that opening line. How are they doing it? right? Is it just stage direction? John pushed through the front door. Or is it something else? And if it's something else, what else is it? And how can you then create something like that? So truly, anything you want to learn is in the books you love. You just have to go looking for it. And that is one of the best ways that you can up your craft. All right, let's move on to pillar number 3, the last pillar, getting feedback. Here's the truth. If you want to become a better writer, you must get feedback on your work. That is absolutely non-negotiable. But the kind of feedback you need depends on where you are in your writing journey. I truly believe that. So there are sort of what I think of as 3 levels of feedback. First, you have the critique group. A critique group is just a group of writers that get together either physically or online once every so often, maybe once a month or once every 2 weeks, whatever they decide. And they exchange pages, they read each other's work, and they offer feedback like, hey, what's working for me? What did I love? What didn't I understand? So critique groups should feel kind and supportive and growth-oriented. If they don't, you absolutely need to find a new one. They should be this wonderful place of growth for writers who are just starting out their writing journey. Maybe this will be the first time you've ever shown anyone else your writing, right? And what I really love about critique groups is that you not only get feedback on your work, but you also get to give other people feedback on theirs. And this actually probably helps you more than getting feedback. Let me explain. I remember a long time ago when I joined my first critique group. This was long before I was an editor. And I remember when I first started looking at someone else's writing objectively, I started seeing the gaps. And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't understand this one thing that I was reading because the author didn't provide any backstory, or the interiority just wasn't there, like the inner processing of the character. And that informed me of how I should be writing scenes, because it's often really hard to see what's not working in our own work, but it's much easier to see what's not working in someone else's. But once we have that knowledge, we can use it in our own writing moving forward. Number 2, group coaching programs. If you are a little bit further along, you've already been a part of a critique group, maybe you've written multiple things, it might be time to consider joining a structured program where you study craft topics and get your writing and publishing questions answered regularly. This is obviously a bit higher ticket than joining a critique group, because joining a critique group is free. And these group coaching programs can cost anywhere from $50 a month to several $100s a month. And obviously, I know that not everyone who wants to be an author can even afford this. I definitely don't want to suggest that that's the case, because I know when I was first in this position, when I joined the critique groups and I've written multiple things and it still wasn't working, I could not have afforded to be a part of a group coaching program. So I'm absolutely aware that this is not for everyone. But if you can afford it, this might be a nice next step where you can speak with a coach or editor who you trust and feels like they meet your vibe, and it can really help you level up your craft and get your questions answered. Number 3, private book coaching. If you have done all the critique groups and you have a story that's in your heart and you really have taken it as far as you can, you might want to consider private book coaching. This is a beautiful area where you can work with a book coach, a developmental editor, someone you trust your story with and you want to learn from. And they can literally read your outline, they can read your pages, and they can help you make sure that the story is structured in a way that will reward readers and that the pages are conveying what you want them to convey. This is kind of like getting a coach, like if you were doing a sport. Let's imagine you wanted to go to the Olympics and you're an ice skater. You would probably have a coach. This is no different than that. And it's just like, hey, if you can get a coach, someone there to help you, it is a wonderful thing to do because it will help you level up your skills so much faster. Now, I do want to say that it's absolutely not required to get a book coach in order to be published. It's not. But this is something that will definitely help you grow faster And if you trust the person and they have the same vision for your novel that you do, it can be incredibly helpful. It can help you just significantly accelerate the mastery of the craft. Okay, my friends, that's it for today. But listen, if you're not on my email list yet, you're absolutely missing out. Why, you ask? That's a pretty easy question to answer because that's where I share my free classes, my paid classes, my free writing sprints, and all the other wonderful goodies that I like to give to writers. And honestly, it's a pretty fun place to be. So future you will be super glad you joined. That means you need to go to my show notes right now, click on that link, and get on that list. Until next time, keep writing, keep dreaming, and remember, the world needs your stories right now, so don't you dare give up on your novel or yourself. Talk soon.